Europe has infection rates rise sharply. State and national leaders are moving swiftly to control the resurgence of the pandemic, but their actions are having unintended consequences. For more, Deutsche Welle correspondent William Glucroft joins me now from Berlin. William, good to talk to you. How bad has the situation become?
I mean, just in the last 24-hour period here in Germany, we saw more than 5,000 new cases, confirmed cases. That's up from more than 4,000 the day before, going from 13 deaths to 43 deaths in the latest 24-hour period. Now, in absolute terms, these are still relatively low numbers if you look at neighboring states like France and Spain and the United Kingdom, where confirmed cases are in the tens of thousands now. And of course, we're nowhere near where we were in the springtime with this first wave. But if you look at relative to where Germany has been as we came out of the summer months, we're in, we're twice as many cases as we were just seeing in just the last few weeks. So a huge rise in cases that's really being blamed on people coming back from various places for various reasons, and also mostly being blamed on private parties, large gatherings, and these kinds of things that has a lot of state leaders really quite worried. And although the death rate is, again, not what we saw back in the springtime, there is a lot of concern that that is where we could be heading. And it's to remind your viewers, here in Germany, we're only at the very beginning of our colder months. It's only just started to drop off into, 10, 12 degrees. It's only just become less comfortable to be outside. It's going to be a long, cold, gray winter ahead of us. And if this is where we're here now, state officials and public health officials really worry where we might be in the deepest part of winter.
Yeah, so what's been the response so far?
It's been a real mixed bag. You can almost look at this like a Russian doll of federalism, starting at the very highest level at the European Union, going down to state levels here in Germany. Germany itself is a federal system, state level, and then even within states, you have districts. For example, Berlin is itself a state, but its own districts within the city have a lot of power in terms of the rules that they implement. So it's really hard to get uniform rules. You have, nighttime curfews in terms of bars being closed, alcohol bans, travel warnings and travel bans. Even within Germany, you have quarantine requirements. You have negative test requirements. This is all a complete mixed bag of rules and regulations between state to state, district to district, and it's really been very confusing for not only just average people like you and me, but even public health officials and politicians are having difficulty explaining what exactly the rules are. A good example here is here in Berlin, our next state over, Brandenburg. These two states are so closely tied together. Years ago, they even had a referendum to maybe become one state. And so it's just absurd to think that Berlin can have one set of rules and the next state that's just a few minutes down the road can have another set of rules, or can ban people from Berlin coming in or going out. So that is what's really the challenge right now. You would think all of these months later, we've been through this in the first wave in the spring, you'd think that there would be a single plan, but unfortunately that is at the moment not the case.
Given that complex system of bureaucracy, how do officials hope to move forward, William?
Well, Angela Merkel, the Chancellor, she is meeting for the first time in person in months with all leaders of the 16 German federal states to try to exactly get over this, to try to find a single uniform rule when it comes to accommodation bans, letting people from risk areas to travel to non-risk areas, when it comes to the limits on public gatherings or private gatherings, when it comes to alcohol bans, when it comes to fines and other kinds of penalties for disobeying the rules, disobeying mask rules. That's going to be the challenge today. That's happening later this afternoon, Germany time. These are usually very strenuous, very controversial closed-door meetings that go on for hours. There'll be a press conference sometime later today to see what comes out of that, but we're really going to have to wait to see what that agreement is. And at the EU level, the European Union has implemented a traffic light system to try to organize where the risk areas are at an EU level. But again, the European Union really doesn't have a lot of authority to enforce rules. They can really only make recommendations and encourage countries to adopt a single set of standards. But it's still up to the nation states, and as I described, even at state and local levels, to really decide what rules they want to follow.
William Glucroft reporting from Berlin. The Prime Minister has spent